Hey admins, how we doing out there? This video is going to be a little bit different this time. With Mark Benton Bean gone and moving down to Florida, and right now we don't have a territory manager in the South. As liaison, I'm kind of picking up a little bit of the slack, and so I'm sending this out to all the lodges. We'll continue to do this for a while at least, until the new TM is hired. May still continue them for a while since that new TM is definitely going to be new to the system and new what's going on. These videos wouldn't hurt them as well. One other thing I'm changing is I send this link always in emails to the lodges, and it goes to YouTube, and anybody can see those videos. I'm looking at doing something a little bit different where it may be a little bit more secure. The only reason why is I sometimes get calls from members asking questions, which is fine. I always like answering those questions. This is more meant as an informational tool for the administrators. But what I am getting is people are sharing those links, and I'm getting phone calls from people that belong to the Eagles or the Elks or a veterans club, and they're asking questions, and I'm saying, well, some of these things I'm talking about are specifically within the Moose structure. Some things are like gaming and apply to all of them, but I'm not going to answer those questions for them. So I'm going to put it in a more secure way where only you'll be able to get it, and no one else will be able to see it. I do have some other territory managers across the country that like to watch these just as a reminder themselves. For those people, they'll have to end up reminding me, and I'll have to send them, I'll have to get their email and send them a link so they can get it. Otherwise, they won't be able to see it. But welcome to all the lodges up north. Don't normally send too many videos out so you don't see them. I promise I try to keep them short. Today's unfortunately will not be super short because we've got a few things that are fairly important to cover. Things we'll be covering today is we're going to talk a little bit about QuickBooks and some issues there. We're going to talk about the key cards and the key card system, and the information that's come out from Moose International about those systems. Indiana Day at the Races is back, and we'll talk about that briefly as well. And then at the end, we're going to talk about some tip boards and some problems we're having with issues around the state that kind of apply right now to one region of the state, but it's a good reminder for everybody. So first of all, let's talk about the key cards and the information that's come out from Moose International. Again, we're touching base on this because people seem to be having a little bit of trouble, and again, some administrators are not giving the proper information and taking it to their boards and sharing it with their memberships. On February 15th, the help desk came out with an email that was very informative about the key card system. Um, there's going to be some rebates for some of the companies, for some of the lodges that use key cards to get in. Now, let me explain. There's a few different versions of key cards and systems to get into lodges, and a few different lodges are doing a few different things. First of all, you do not have to have this system. Uh, MI highly recommends it. I recommend it. It's nice simply because you can scan that card to get in. If you're a member, if they're having to be rang in, either their card is expired and that's a good chance to catch somebody to renew their dues, or they're not a member and therefore you should be asking who they are. It's very helpful when excise comes to a lodge and they have to swipe that card, or they have to be buzzed to get in and they don't have a card. That kind of stops that whole, are you serving the public? Are you serving somebody underage, dead in its tracks, because they don't even have a membership card. So again, it's very nice. But you don't have to have it. It's not a requirement. Some people think they're going to have it required by May. You don't. Again, we highly suggest it, but you don't have, it's not required. Some lodges have the proximity cards. It's kind of like this. It's a white card. There's no magnet strip on it. The card just has to be close to the reader, and it lets them in. You guys are fine. Continue to use this if you want. It's still a little bit of a pricey thing. If you're ever thinking about upgrading sometime to the future, you may think about this system. But as long as you guys have this, you're fine. You don't even have to worry about listening to the rest of my little spiel here. But for those lodges that do have the system where they have the membership card and it's reading the magnetic strip on the card, after May, Moose International, the cards come out will have a QR code, a visual reader. They will not have a magnet strip on them to read the membership cards. Again, I'm not for sure why they're only going with the QR code and not with the magnet strip. I'm sure there was some decision made there. I don't know if it was a cost issue or not. Also, the phone app, if you have that phone app on your phone, that has the QR code on it as well, and you'll be able to use that. Now, any of those lodges that are using the Learn Ease, or and I always get it wrong, the MGS system, which is that company out of Michigan that has the moosekeycard.com website. You will be getting a rebate for them for getting the QR code reader. You still have to order it from them, but Moose International is giving a $500 rebate on that, but that will come in a form of uh, money off of your AR payment. So once that's been filed, you'll see a chunk of a $500 credit on your AR payment. It's not cash to the lodge per se. Excuse me. If you're using a different system than that, then you will have to go with the company, get it taken care of, and then send an invoice to Kurt Wiebe at Moose International, which that's all in the email, his address, and how you can get a hold of him. With the first two systems, though, when they are taking care of it, they're sending a communication to Moose International, and that's when the rebate will be done. You don't have to do anything on that end other than order it from them. I would suggest, though, when you get your invoice, hold on to it and make sure that at some point you get that rebate, because if they don't, we're expecting them to do all these lodges and remind Moose International who all gets credits. Just keep that invoice, which you should anyways, but just keep an eye on that. Make sure you're getting your discount at some point. But again, I want to reiterate, especially those lodges that are using the cards with the swipes, the membership cards, after May 1st, the cards won't have that on them anymore. So we want to take steps to getting that corrected so that we don't have a problem come May 1st with the new cards. We've known about this for about a month now. So you're going to have, overall, you've had 5 months. Even from now, you still have a few more months to get that taken care of. So let's start that process now. It's very important. Indiana Day at the Races. It is back. I'm going to end this email and video link. I will have the flyer. There's a small flyer being passed out. It's going to go to chapters and Moose Legions as well. Everybody's going to get that. I'm going to post it on Facebook. But the publicity chairman has got bigger posters made up, and they will be passed out this weekend to district presidents at the mid-year conference, and hopefully at that point, a vast majority of the district presidents will see administrators from their lodges and be able to get them out, so we'll have them out. But we just wanted to get it done sooner because there is a specific requirement this year. The deadline is to have the money turned into your administrator and in hand for the chairman of the Indiana Day races, which I believe Dick Schuyler, the state secretary, is taking that up. Information's on the flyer. But by March 31st, he has to have the money for that. For those that have been to Indiana Day races in the past, it's a little bit different this year. We got knocked down because we didn't go last year. That we're in the trophy room, so we're in a different room. It's still good price, still going to be a good day. You're still going to get the buffet and all that stuff, so should be a good time. Hopefully in the future we'll get back up and be back up in the Millionaires Row on that top level down the road. There are only 400 tickets available, and I know a couple of lodges have already reserved large amounts. So if you're thinking about going, get together with your lodge administrators. Again, you'll be collecting the money and turn that into the Indiana Day at the Races chairman or to Dick Schuyler, the state secretary. The flyer will have more information on it. Excuse me. One thing about QuickBooks I want to talk about real quick, and I know we're having this problem in the South, so I'm sure that in the Northern Territory you're doing this issue's up there too. In QuickBooks, we want to make sure we're not changing any of the settings in QuickBooks. As a territory manager, we come in and we have to make sure some things are set in there, and we check on them periodically to make sure they haven't changed. The credit card in there, there's 2 different credit cards that comes from Moose International. Moose International is being charged that, and then you guys are paying Moose International back through your AR payment. There's one credit card for lodges who don't have payroll, and there's another credit card for lodges who do have payroll. So we want to make sure we're not messing with those settings in there. We also don't want to change settings such as where it says what type of corporation we are. Some lodges are going in there and fiddling around, and they say, oh, well, we're a non-for-profit with a 990, and they put that on there. It should say not other or not sure, because when you put the 990 version in there, it changes your expenses and things like that around, and we don't actually operate that way with our bookkeeping. So please don't change that. So those type of settings you shouldn't be changing. If you're adding or subtracting a user, like if you have an office assistant, that stuff's fine. But those major settings we shouldn't be changing. Also, when it comes to turning payroll on or off, we have a handful of lodges down south, and so does Mark up north, that actually use the payroll in QuickBooks. But we've had lodges just go in and they were messing around that didn't have it and just turned it on. Well, it automatically going to start charging you an extra $45 a month plus $4 or $5 per employee you have on there. So when that gets turned on, suddenly you're going from paying $8 a month to suddenly you're paying like $80 to $100 a month. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Also, connecting to the bank. We highly suggest that lodges don't connect to the bank unless you really know what you're doing. You have to be QuickBooks savvy to make that happen, because connecting to the bank screws up a lot of things initially. And I won't go into all those details now, but if you're thinking about doing that, talk to your TM first. Let them make sure that you know enough of QuickBooks for doing that. Again, we don't suggest it because it just seems to create too many mistakes. So please don't mess around in QuickBooks. The very last thing, and I'm at 11 minutes, so I'm gonna try to hurry. We're having some tip boards, pull tab troubles around the state. Now, this really only applies right now to my lodges along the Illinois border, especially the southern Indiana-Illinois border. It seems that we do have some people that are playing bingo in other facilities, and then they're somehow getting a hold of the winners, and it doesn't seem to be the big winners. It's the $50, the $75 ones, not the $5.99s, not the big ones, and they're bringing those over. And then when the lodge plays bingo and has that type of game going on, they're pulling those winners out. So that doesn't apply to everybody, but it's always a good thing if you have bingo, or even in your lodge, if you're not checking your bartenders, your volunteer staff, whoever you have working games on your gaming. Every once in a while I should be checking that anyways, especially even in a town that maybe has 3 or 4 bingos going on, and you guys are all using mostly the same company now, because there's only a couple of companies left that sell this stuff. And if whatever game you may have, if it's being played all over town, you may have somebody collecting those. So we want to make sure we're not having that issue. So just remind your volunteers, and again, even in the social quarters, if you're playing the big cardboard tabs and things like that, the wall games, they should be verifying and making sure it's the right game with the right number, because we've had at least 3 or 4 lodges now come in where they've had someone claim a winner, and it was the right color board, it was the right type of game, and they just weren't paying attention, and it had a different number at the end of it. And then we've had a couple of bingos where they're flat out just coming in and bringing those in, and they're not even members of the lodge. So just a reminder, check in on that. Again, everybody up north, you'll be seeing more of these. I'll send these often. I send them about every Monday as well. You guys all have a good day. I kept it to 13 minutes. That wasn't bad. Take care, guys.